Alright, guys, Joe Saglimbeni back on his YouTube channel, Joe Saglimbeni, and let's start calculating some stuff. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, guys, so before we get into the best calculation ever, I want to explain myself to you, Joe Saglimbeni, blue collar worker, 3 decades of investing in the stock market, and this is my YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about what I consider the most powerful calculation ever and how to work that calculation. So, the most powerful calculation ever is compound interest. Basically, using a calculator, a compound interest calculator, putting a number in there, and letting it compound over time. This is the greatest calculation ever. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, it's said that Einstein knew that compound interest had the potential to change lives. Einstein, famous scientist, everyone knows who Einstein is. They say he said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, what does Einstein mean by that? Well, basically, it's sort of like if you pay interest, interest will compound against you. So let's say you buy a car and you take a loan out and it's 5% interest. That 5% interest is compounding against you. You will end up paying significantly more for that car because of the negative effect of the interest that the bank is charging you. Well, what you have to do is you have to turn that around and make interest work for you. So in a little while, I'm going to show you some calculations of what I mean. So, basically, I learned about compounding interest. Oh my God. I think I was in high school, or I learned about how powerful it was. And I started to see the results when I started buying CDs in the bank and seeing what simple interest would compound over a certain point of time. Well, the great thing about compound interest is that the more your interest works for you, or the more interest you get from your asset, it builds upon that interest and it compounds on that interest and it compounds on that. It's like a snowball effect. So let me go to the screen and show you which calculator I like to use on the internet. So basically, I like to use the Money Chimp basic compound interest calculator. So you go to moneychimp.com or look up compound calculator MoneyChimp and you'll find it. So let's give a scenario of an 18-year-old who just started working. Now, right here you'll see that I have some numbers in here already, but I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to put in all zeros right now. All right? All zeros. Years to grow, 0. Interest rate, 0. Okay, so let's start it that way. So in this scenario, what we're going to do is I want to I'm starting to work. I'm 18 years old, and maybe I'm making 20 grand a year, some low figure, but I can manage to save 5,000 of that each year. Okay? So we're going to put in zero as our principal. We're starting with nothing. We're going to add $5,000 per year. It's going to grow each year. So let's give it a year. I don't know. Let's say we want to give a year like um, 10 years. And we're just going to stay consistent. $5,000 for the next 10 years. All right? So we'll put that as 10. Now, interest rate. So, let's say I read a lot of great books on investing and I decided to buy a mutual fund and I found that, on average, the S&P 500, averages between 8 and 10%. So I buy an index fund and let's say I get 8% return yearly. Now, of course, this is going to change. You're not always going to get 8%. It's going to be volatile because you are investing in the stock market. And actually, at this point, I just want to say that I am not a financial planner. I only give opinions on YouTube about certain subjects. So please reach out to a financial professional before you do any investing in anything. All right? So, let's put in 8% interest. Okay? We say 8, the low end of the stock market. We're going to calculate. So, 5,000 annual addition for the next 10 years at an 8% interest rate will compound to $78,000. So you only put 50 grand in and it turned it to 78,000. Almost $20,000 difference was all compounding. But things get better if you start putting more years onto this. Let's just stay with the 5,000 and let's put 15 years. Okay? $146,000. Same 5,000, 15 years. So now I'm 18, 28, 29, 30, 30. I'm 32 years old. And I have $146,000 in this account. And I'm making more money, but let's say I just keep doing this for 5 more years. Okay? 5 more years, which means 20 years. And in that 20th year, we have almost $250,000. And on that 20th year, I will be, or this person will be 38 years old. And now I'm going to show you what I mean by the power of this calculator, this compounding calculator. All right? At 38 years old, this person decides that he just doesn't want to invest anymore. He missed out on life and he wants to have fun for the rest of his life. He's just going to let this roughly $247,000 grow on its own for the next 20 years. Okay? In the same S&P 500 index fund. So, to make the numbers easy, we'll put 247,000 in here. All right? And he's not going to add any more dollars a year. And he's going to let it compound at 8% for the next 20 years. So here's the magic of this best calculation ever. Watch. he will have, at the age of 50 years old, he is going to have over $1 million just by leaving it there. And this is why this is the most best calculation ever. And I learned this at a young age, and I didn't even have 5 grand. I would throw in a 200, 400 a year, and it grew to much heavier, bigger values. To me, that is the greatest thing about this calculation, is that you can get huge sums of money after a certain period of time just because of the snowball compounding effect that is happening to your balances. And it's amazing things that could happen. You could, as you could see, you can be financially independent just by starting early, investing, dollar cost averaging, and being consistent. And hopefully, and again, hopefully you can get 8 to 10% return on your investment, and amazing things can happen in 2 or 3 decades. So that's it, guys. I wanted to talk about the best calculation ever, and hopefully you guys will go check it out on Money Chimp compounding calculator, or any compounding calculator. Put in the numbers yourself and let that magic work. Start investing now. Use the best calculation ever. All right, guys? All right, hopefully you guys like this video. Give it a like, comment, share. Let that algorithm work for me. And I will talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.